Hi, everyone. This is Morgan Wilcox with the Long Beach Chamber of Commerce, and we are here with Tech Talk, sponsored by Synergy Technologies. And with us today, we have Nick Bain with Synergy Technologies, and we have William McWhorter from Ganson Smith Insurance Agency.
Good
And
morning,
then I'll
everybody.
let y'all introduce
Good
yourselves.
morning.
My name is Nick Bain. I'm with Synergy Technology. I'm one of the technology consultants here. Synergy Technology is a managed services provider, so we manage the IT for several companies all over East Texas.
My name's William McWhorter. I'm with Gann Smith Insurance Agency. We are a full service independent insurance agency here in Longview. So we do commercial, personal, life health, group health benefits. And then, of course, specifically with what we're talking about today, we've been helping a lot of businesses and having a lot of conversations with a lot of business owners about how important cyber and tech is with their business and all their operations.
Okay, so the subject that we wanted to discuss today was cyber crime, cyber security, how that affects your business, how things that you do in your business will affect your policies, your cybersecurity policies that you might have or that you want to get and you might not be able to because certain things are not in place, and the importance of it in today's threat environment that we are living in. William, so cybercrime, of course, is in the news more than ever. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's thinking about it. How much of it have you or your clients seen in East Texas?
Uh, I have personally been involved with cyber claims on a handful of instances. It's become, as you said, an issue though that all business owners should be focused on.
Mm-hmm.
You've got teams of hackers that have become a lot more sophisticated over the years with really the different tools and strategies that they're using to come after all these businesses, no matter if it's a small, mid, or large scale business. It's not just the corporations anymore. So, but yeah, I've been personally a part of a few, and those have been everything from businesses that we would consider white collar
Mm-hmm.
to contractors, manufacturers, a little oil and gas. And I've even heard from other colleagues in the industry or, the underwriter and brokerage that we work with a lot on cyber insurance instances they've heard about for other industries that have been attacked through cyber crimes.
Yeah, we've been involved in a lot of different cases here throughout East Texas. Some of them we can talk about. Some of them, of course, we cannot.
Right.
Some of them are small. Some of them are pretty big. And those companies, choose not to have their relationship affected with their clients by, an incident being reported. So if we're not discussing personal names, that's the reason for it.
Hmm.
Is we don't actually have permission from these companies to talk about it, but it is here. It is in East Texas, and it is prevalent. We have cases that we've had to bring in the FBI to
Hmm.
help mitigate and deal with some of the stuff that happened, and like you said, from just a couple of people to big corporations. And one of the things that we've noticed is since we do a lot of oil field service here in East Texas, so we help your Exxons and we do stuff for a lot of these big corporations. We found that criminals are going after these little companies as a way into the big ones. So it's not just what they can get from that little guy, is who they can get to through that little guy.
Hmm.
And we're seeing these big corporations start to put in a lot of requirements and security posture needs and insurance that they have to have in order to do business with them.
Yes, sir, exactly. Because, you know, these larger companies have, either built-in infrastructure or built-in security IT teams to handle these daily attacks that could happen. And they are daily,
Mm-hmm.
but these small to mid-sized businesses that are trying to contract with these larger oil and gas companies or these larger healthcare companies, manufacturers, whoever it might be, it's no fault of their own. If we look at it through their perspective,
Right.
it's like, well, I'm a small business owner here in, East Texas. Like, why would they come after me? And, but those are exactly the people that they are.
Yeah.
Because if they go after enough small and mid-sized businesses who don't have these capabilities and they start stacking up, these 10, 20, $30,000 or more, um, you know, ransomware or social engineering, that's a major one. Both of them are major threats,
Yeah.
but they stack those up enough and they, make a very, unfortunately, lucrative business out of it. And so that's
So,
why, even some security measures need to be put in place.
and I looked at a couple of statistics before our meeting today, and cybercrime is a $12 trillion business. It's going to be a $12 trillion business by the end of 2026. I think they're at 10 trillion for this year, and they're the third largest economy worldwide. Cybercrime is. You have the U.S., you have China, and then you have cybercrime as the
Hmm.
biggest revenue getters that there is out there. So they're getting paid, which is why they're so prevalent and all over the place. Um, so can you share an example without naming names of how attack impacted a business?
I can, yes, sir, share a couple, of course, as you know, without sharing their names.
Right.
Um, so there were two white collar businesses that I dealt with personally that unfortunately were victims of social engineering hacks. And for those that aren't familiar with that, that's when these teams of hackers, um, and every part of that team, has a specific part they're playing or they sell the next part to other hackers. So these are very sophisticated teams. And essentially, what happened was someone uh, created an email address and they had one letter off of the actual owner because they're always going to be targeting owners or C-suite executives. And they said, hey, I need you to send this money by lunchtime, wire it, here's the amount, and get it taken care of. They didn't catch it until Monday. This had taken place on Friday. And at that point, even getting law enforcement and the banks involved, they weren't able to recover any of the funds. It happened to another white collar business and then an oil and gas business that we know and a manufacturing one. The two really similarities between those two were that the hackers were able to gain access to these insured's computer systems through employees, and they held hostage customer and insured owned specifications, job bids, and really their computer systems as a whole. And so, these were some real life instances where these businesses have been the victims of these different strategic hacking by these teams that we saw.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we've seen is that these hackers are patient. They're very patient. There will be cases. I have was involved in a case where my customer clicked on something, like you said, social engineering. They get you to click on something, and it put a rule on their email account where the hackers were getting copies of every email that he was.
Hmm.
And as soon as the transaction came through big enough that um, that was big enough that it involved electronic money move, They stepped in, silenced the user, and started acting as him, sending emails back and forth to their customer, and got my customer's customer, to change their account information and transfer the money to the wrong account.
Mm-hmm.
So they are being very patient, and they're sitting there, and they will sit there listening.
Definitely.
And so having the right tools in place comes into, helps a lot with mitigating this. As far as insurance, what are some of the cyber insurance basics that people, you know, need to know about, and what does it actually cover?
Well, really, in a sense, if you have an actual cyber coverage product plan, it will cover everything.
Okay.
And I use that versus just, some carriers will include just here's $25,000 limit for cyber insurance. But if you really look at the wording through one of the forms, maybe that 25,000 only applies if that cyber claim is related to ransomware or malware. But if you have a cyber claim and that's all you have, and you're the victim of a social engineering attack, there's a chance that that might not even, apply. And then you're looking at out-of-pocket expenses. But if you have a full cyber product, then that can cover, like I said, essentially everything. So if you have that product, you file a claim, you've got your carrier response in minutes. They're running forensics. They're already talking to legal counsel. They're finding out the extent of what happened, what strategy did the hackers use, uh, how much funds were distributed. So how much funds do they need to get access to? Do we need to get, PR involved? What's the damage to both the insured, their funds, and their customers, not to mention, any specs or plans they own, depending on what kind of business they're in. And then all of these vendors and firms that the broker's using, they are specifically cyber focused. Because if you have a law firm or a PR firm or whoever it might be, and they're great at what they do in your industry, but they don't really have a cyber focus, then you might be using the wrong firm, and that really sets you back.
Mhm.
Because without a plan in place, you can lose control of the situation faster than you can even realize it. And by the
Right.
time you do understand that, it's already too late.
And the other side of cyber crime, besides the financial loss from the actual attack, or that you have the production or productivity and production time that you're going to lose out on. But then one of
Hmm.
the impacts that I've seen that a lot of people are not thinking about, is that reputation, the
Hmm.
reputation of your business. That that and I think that's why you said you involve PR companies, because that's
Hmm.
important. I think what I tell some of my clients is, you need to get your exclusions page out of your cyber insurance policy, and need to go sit down with your insurance agent, and you need to go over it.
Exactly.
That's the best way to figure out what are you getting covered for and what are you missing.
Hmm.
And that's the best way to get to, okay, well, wait, what if this happens? And
Right.
then you guys can then cover them for that risk. So, in addition to insurance, what are some of the proactive steps that people can take right now to protect themselves?
Well, really, as you just said, proactive, that is a great word to describe what you should be doing as a business owner or someone in your team. You need to be doing everything from making sure you've got an updated and reliable firewall in place. You need to be having open conversations with your team, and they need to know that they can come and talk to you, whether you're the owner or one of the C-suite or management, because if they have something that's suspicious to them or like this doesn't make sense, if they don't feel that there's that open dialogue, then that could create a problem because they might end up either sending some funds or clicking on a link because they're concerned about their job. So making sure that there's open dialogue where, um, and the open dialogue, I would go back and say, you need to be doing trainings with your staff and your employees or even your other owners. Here's what we need to watch out for. Here are red flags. This email has a number in it, or this email, the wording's off, or they need a certain amount of money or a large amount of money or any amount of money, and they need it by lunchtime and they need you to wire it somewhere. Red flags. You need to make sure you've got a lot of investment built up in your backups. In an ideal situation, you would have backups offline outside your office somewhere else. That way they're safe, secure, and there's not something that can get through a hard line to corrupt those. And just constantly making sure that you're updating all the security systems you have in place, because if you do have a firewall and a security system, if they're not updated, you know, either on a weekly or daily or monthly basis, depending on what program you have, you're really leaving yourself exposures. And I would really just make sure that with social engineering being one of the ones that is used the most, conversations with employees, training with employees, other management and staff, because your team members are going to be most of the time the easiest way to get into your network and your operations.
Right. So we work with a lot of clients, and some of them have chosen other insurance companies. We can't get them all on Gans and Smith as much as we would like to,
I
but
understand.
one of the things that we have noticed is that every different insurance company is going to have a little bit of different language for the same thing. So what we try to tell our clients is, one, it needs you patching and ongoing maintenance of your systems is required if you want the insurance company to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Security awareness training, which is what you were talking about, having those conversations, not just going through one session. Some policies tell you that that has to be ongoing and reportable. So you need to have a system that ongoing fishes your people, tests them, puts them through training, shows them what's going on in the market, and being able to report in case there is an incident where an employee clicked on something they shouldn't have because they're going 100 to nothing, which will happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you take that claim to the insurance company. If you can't report that they have been trained and just a mistake happened, the insurance company is going to deny that claim.
Right. I would really echo a couple of great points you just made. You know, the plan in place you have, you know, that can be drawn up depending on what company you work with. I mean, we work with a lot of carriers, and one in particular, Burns and Wilcox we work with. They have an underwriter, Ken, who's been great counsel to me and great help to me and the businesses that we service. You know, they can help draw up a plan or have templates for plans based off what the business is and what their operations are, so that if you do end up having what you said, and through a phishing or social engineering, here are the steps that we follow. Here's who we contact. Here's what everyone does. Here's what we're not going to do.
Right.
And that will help us maintain control of the situation. And you've got, the broker and their team and their vendors working with you each step of the way so that you can maintain your operations and really limit the damage as much as possible to not just you, but especially your customers in case they've been tied into this too.
Great. Thank you. So if you could if you could give business owners one piece of advice when it comes to cybercrime, cyber insurance, what would that be?
It's one, but I would say preparation and training. Have a plan in place, whether you've come up with it or whether you've had conversations with your agent and company slash brokerage, whoever comes up with your cyber coverage and training. Your employees, they're the face of your company, they're the backbone of your company. They're what make the operations go on a daily basis. But as you said, when they're going 100 miles an hour like we all are, sometimes they might not think of something as a red flag. So giving them the resources they need for trainings, and like you said earlier, not just on a one-off period, something that should happen as much as a weekly or, every 2 weeks or at least once a month. The more training they have, the better prepared they'll be to recognize red flags.
Right. So mine would be to tell business owners, talk to your insurance provider, talk to your agent, get a list of your agent on what the policy requires you to have in place. Because it's very easy to go sign up for cyber insurance and fill out a quick questionnaire that gets you the policy. You want that policy to pay if something was to happen.
Right.
Take that policy and go talk to your IT services provider or your
Mhm.
computer guy or whoever that might be. Sit down with them and say, here's my list. Am I doing all of this?
Right.
And make sure that they can put the tools in place for you to stay safe.
I think that's a great point too, and it brings in your IT team so that they're aware. Because the more conversations that you and your team at your business and your team at your, IT, Synergy, like that's having those open dialogues will make sure that people are on the same page, and it reduces the risk that, exposure could be missed.
Well, that's what we have.
And I will say, Synergy is really good about emailing the whole team here at the chamber with our security training that we have to go through and listen to the videos and ask questions, and it lets us know, keeps us up to date on everything so that we really can look out for those emails and things like that. So y'all's trainings are really good. I like the fun little videos too. So.
Oh, glad you like that.
Yes, well, thank y'all so much for, I know
Of
everyone's
course.
so busy, for taking time out of your day to talk to us and explain cybersecurity and insurance with us. So we really appreciate it here at the Chamber, and we are thankful to Synergy for sponsoring our Tech Talk.
You bet. Thank you.